Hey, I'm Wanda Cologne. Thanks for watching Spanglish Cooking. Today I'm going to make a Caribbean favorite, twice fried green plantains, which we call tostones. But what I'm going to do to make them a little Spanglish is I'm going to use them for my base for my bruschetta. All right, so the first thing I want to do is show you the plantain. It's nice and green. It's a little bit bigger than a normal banana, and it's perfect. It's not ripe. We don't want a ripe plantain. That's something completely different. All right, so what I'm going to do is just cut it in a diagonal, take the tips off, and discard them. Then I'm just going to take my knife and run it through one side. They don't peel as easily as regular bananas. That's why we just kind of take our knife, then we take our thumb and just separate the skin from the banana, just like that. It's that simple. Now what you want to do is cut them in about 3/4 inches. And I like to cut them in a slant because it looks really pretty when they're completely done. Tostones are usually done with a lot of mojo sauce. So what I like to do is infuse my plantains immediately with some water, garlic, and Spanglish mix. And that's my version of mojo. So while that's sitting aside, I'm going to get started on my bruschetta. What I love about Spanglish cooking is that there are no rules. So I'm going to use some of my favorite ingredients from Italian style. And this is my bruschetta. And I'm going to make it all Spanglish. All right, so what I'm going to do is cut my tomato. And you just want to chop it into little squares. And then I'm just going to put that in a bowl and set it aside. And you want to use about 2 or 3 tomatoes, but I'm just going to get through the basics for you. I'm going to take my basil leaves and stack them up. And then just roll them like almost like you're rolling a little cigar. And this will julienne them nicely. It's perfect. Put that in with my tomatoes. And then we want to get a garlic clove and mince that nice. And use, I would say to 3 tomatoes, use at least 2 cloves of garlic. I like to make my bruschetta first. This way it sits for a little bit and all the flavors marry together and it just makes it so delicioso. Add my garlic. So to this mixture, I want to add at least 2 more tomatoes and another clove of garlic. My bruschetta is almost ready. I added 3 tomatoes, 2 large cloves of garlic, and a handful of basil. So all I need to do is add a few more ingredients. What you want to do is add a little bit of salt now, and then later on, before you serve it, taste it again because the tomatoes will absorb all of that salt, and you may need to add just a little bit more. So we added some salt, some fresh ground pepper, and about a good tablespoon of extra virgin olive oil. And what I love about bruschetta is that I make it all of the time. And every time I do, people get so excited and ask me what the recipe is. And I always tell them it's so easy. It's really as simple as that. But it's delicious. Now I'm going to set my bruschetta aside and let all of the flavors meld together. And while that's happening, I'm going to make my tostones. My tostones have been sitting in the mojo and they're ready to get fried. You want to be really careful and start off with medium heat. You don't want your flames too high because there's going to be a lot of splashing, and you want to be really careful when you're putting down your tostones into the hot oil. After about a minute or two, turn them over to the other side. They're not going to get completely cooked. Just keep in mind, we're frying them twice. I fried my tostones on both sides for about 2 minutes each. Now it's time to remove them from the heat. And I just am placing them on paper towels just so they can drain the excess oil. But now comes the fun part, the paper bag. So what I'm going to do is take my tostones and flatten them in a paper bag. You can use a tostonera, which is made especially for tostones. However, sometimes they're hard to find. I don't even have one. So I use a paper bag. And I smash the plantains. Then I dip them back into my mojo just for a second, and then I place them back in my hot pan. I'm going to flip them all over, give them a good 2 to 3 minutes, and then remove them from the heat. My tostones look perfect, and they're ready to be removed from the heat. I'm going to place them once again on some clean paper towels to drain the excess oil. Oh yeah. These look so good. I'm going to let them sit on the paper towel for just a couple of minutes. And then I'm going to put the bruschetta on top of my tostones, making the perfect bruschetta crostini. This is so good. It's like the best thing I've ever eaten. What I love is it's so garlicky. The plantains are nice and infused with garlic. They're nice and crunchy, but soft in the middle. The tomatoes are perfectly ripe and fresh, and I can taste the garlic and the basil, the salt, the pepper, and the olive oil. What's really awesome about Spanglish cooking is it's taking a bunch of fresh ingredients and putting them all together with a nice Spanish twist.